Well, hey folks, you are tuned into Pacific Ocean Asia. This is not going to be a long video, but I wanted to tell you that I had been on Facebook a couple weeks ago and I was shut down. I didn't post anything that was against their community guidelines. I was given no reason for it. I wrote them and said, I have done nothing wrong. I demand to know a reason. You guys have censored me constantly. Pacific had posted what was called 3D art. Art is allowed on Facebook. They had gotten sued by a Frenchman in France who posted a painting of a nude woman. They shut down his account. He sued and won, said, you cannot come against art. Every time I post an art, they'd remove the picture saying it violated their community standards. I'd write them a note saying it does not. This is art. Look it up. Within a day, they'd come back and say, we're sorry. We reposted it since it does not violate our community standard. But is Facebook censoring people for being conservative? Is Facebook censoring people who have views that aren't in line with Hillary Clinton or Mr. Zuckerberg or Barack Obama? Very good chance. However, today I went to the steam bath very early, and as I was sitting in there, I was in the hot tub, and I overheard a gentleman say, yep, they shut down my Facebook. My ears went boing, and he said, I had a different name. He said, first they told me that the name you posted isn't your real name, and we're trying to get rid of false identity. And then he said, I had actually posted a pro-gay post, and maybe one of my religious right-wing conservatives turned me in for it. I didn't bother to tell him that Facebook is very much openly LGBT condoning, so that certainly wasn't it. But he submitted the ID, he submitted the complaint, and they said, nope, sorry, you are ineligible. And I told them what happened to me. There was a black gentleman, there was a white guy telling me this, and all of them said, yeah, Facebook's going on a censoring campaign. They've really been getting bad about that. The sad thing about Facebook is Mr. Zuckerberg and his billions of dollars, who doesn't know the way the rest of us people live, is just slamming down on whatever. I don't think that that's fair. Granted, it's their product and they have the right to make the terms and conditions. But why are they shutting down Facebook? Because somebody, and not giving somebody a reason. Even the American justice system, you cannot be thrown into court. The judge doesn't look at you and says, oh, you got to come to court. We're not giving you a reason for why you're in court. That's stupid. Because Mr. Zuckerberg is a socialist. And a socialist is going to do what's good for socialism, not democracy, not constitutional freedom. Let me make it clear, for those of you that don't know, especially women, you need to pay attention to this. I hear more American women say, you don't know me. Facebook does. They know you very well. They know you're into dogs. They know you're into SUVs. They know you're into Starbucks. They know what you cook every night. They know what you wear. They know what mall you went to. One woman posted, I'm going to this mall, and I'll be back in about 3 hours. As soon as she posted that and left, one of her friends came over and robbed her house blind. She had a security camera, so they caught her. Women are not clandestine in their approach to Facebook. Facebook, it has been told, and this has been verified by more than one source, Mr. Zuckerberg has received a huge amount of money from the CIA of the United States. The IRS uses Facebook to go after tax evaders. People start posting a picture of their new boat, their new car, everything that they bought, and they find that this guy was a tax evader, and they can use that in a court of law. Let me make it clear. Facebook is not your friend. And for them to put a clause in their community guidelines, we don't have to give a reason. You type in the question, my Facebook account was shut down. I am ineligible. We don't have to give a reason. Isn't that nice? Isn't that convenient? Can you imagine if the justice system worked that way? Pacific, we're putting you in jail. We're not giving you a reason. You don't have the right to make a defense. You're guilty until proven innocent, and you're not going to be able to have a chance to prove your innocence. See ya. My experiences with Facebook have shown me it's not a fair site. And if Mr. Zuckerberg saw this video and wanted to go, wah, oh well. The bottom line is, Zuckerberg made a huge amount of money, and I have a problem with that. I have a problem with our whole society and how people are making gargantuan sums of money for what? What was there before Facebook? MySpace. Does anybody remember Friendster? It didn't really take off in the United States, but it was very popular among the Asians. In fact, I believe that Friendster was an Asian-based company, but I'm not sure. I loved Friendster. You could change your background instead of the Facebook blue and white and their way of doing it. You could arrange your page, you could put your detailed wallpaper, you could do everything. I loved it. Facebook came along and gobbled up every single one of the existing sites. It's sad though, because even now in our society, I've noticed that churches, not wanting to be behind, they're posting all their stuff on Facebook. And the older I get, and the more I watch what's happening, I'm starting to tell people the best thing you could do is get off, shut it down. And when you give a reason for why you're shutting it down, say, you don't stand for true freedom. You stand for socialism. I don't agree with socialism. You can shut people's accounts down arbitrarily and not give them a reason. This flies against the United States Constitution. It was a Reginald who wrote me to tell me, due to safety and security reasons, we cannot give you a reason. Due to safety and security reasons, you cannot give me a reason? Lame. I'm safety and security risk? But my question, and people ask me this, do you think that Zuckerberg and his team watched any of your videos? I would find it hard to believe any of them took the time to watch my videos. Facebook has so many millions of people on it. Why would Pacific be spotlighted? It's possible. It's possible. In the last few weeks, I started ramping up my discussion of Mr. Zuckerberg and saying how, he's a socialist. He supported Hillary Clinton. And the thing that bothers me about Mr. Zuckerberg in his community guidelines, he is against harassment, terroristic stuff, death threats, all the stuff. He seems to have all these moral guidelines, but if you look at Hillary Clinton, that a cursory observer that knows nothing about politics can look at her life and know that Hillary Clinton is as immoral and ungodly as they come. The Clinton Foundation has taken in billions of dollars, and they called it the Clinton Foundation, which in a sense is their money. Hillary Clinton is a liar. She has been caught lying. Hillary Clinton is responsible for the tragedy that ensued at Benghazi. Hillary Clinton was malicious and juvenile and immature and unprofessional in her response to Donald Trump as a running mate. She glowed with arrogance. And if Mark Zuckerberg wants to support a candidate like her, that's more telling about Mr. Zuckerberg. And I'm sorry to take and throw the hat in or the boot in on the Democrats, but they're immoral and ungodly anyway. Did anybody see Weinstein? Anybody see these Democrats come out with all these sexual abuse and sexual harassment allegations? Isn't that funny? Hillary Clinton never once said anything about Weinstein, but Mr. Trump on a coach bus years ago was with other men and was talking locker room inappropriate on a bus. Somebody was there to make sure they video recorded this or audio recorded this. And the Democratic left just went absolutely into overdrive. This guy should not be president. This is a violation of women's rights. The females, especially Hillary Clinton, might want to come sit in my break room and listen to the conversations by some of the Hispanic women about cock size and stuff like that. And yes, that does go on. Women are no longer ladies in our culture, as we all know. And the women that I work with are harder than some of the most seasoned sailors or prisoners. My problem with Facebook is they're very hypocritical. I have seen people post nude videos, nude pictures, and they never got flagged, never had a complaint, never had it pulled. I posted art, and it was constantly getting pulled and then reinstated, pulled, reinstated. And I hadn't even posted art. And then all of a sudden, I'm talking to somebody overseas, and the person says, "Hey, you blocked me." I said, "How could I have blocked you? I wouldn't be able to talk to you right now." Look in your thing. I look, it says, "Unable to chat, check your internet connection." I said, "Hold on." I signed out. I come back in. "Sorry, you cannot enter your Facebook. You have to submit ID." So I submitted ID, waited a day. "You are ineligible." Okay. So, fortunately, that person contacted one of my Facebook friends in the States and said, "Could you please ask Pacific how we can get in touch?" And I said, "Go to Skype." And that person is on Skype, and it was very interesting to note that something happened on my Facebook that shocked me. Several year friends that were part of the former Pacific Ocean Asia channel, they started contacting other friends that knew me and said, "Could you please give Pacific my number? Could you please tell him I want to keep in touch with him?" And really, isn't that what it's about? Facebook is a bunch of cyber bits, and I'd rather be in touch, in a connection. So I will say that with all the talk about the internet, I have made friends and friendships with people that I have not met face to face. Several of them said, "If you're ever up in this way, you can be a guest here. We will invite you in. You can stay with us to visit." I was shocked. How many people have Facebook accounts and 9,000 friends? Actually, I was told you can't have more than 5,000 friends, according to Facebook. And if you look at most of the women's Facebooks, they got tons of friends. And you start going, are these really friends? Well, if you look at the pictures of the women, and they're like this, and there's no clothing on here, and cleavage is showing, of course they have lots of friends. For many women, Facebook has become the greatest feeding of the vain and the vanity fair that one could ever imagine. We have young girls as far away as the Philippines posting picture after picture after picture. I had a friend. She was cute. She was a very young Filipina. And she kept posting pictures. "Here's my picture. I don't care what you think. Maybe you think I'm ugly." I wrote her and I said, "You are not ugly. You're beautiful. Get over that stuff." "Yeah, well, you're the only one to tell me that." And I thought, I don't believe that. I looked at all the thumbs up. I started looking at all her friends, and I thought, people were writing, "Woohoo, wow, you're hot, E. So one day I did a video. I didn't mention her name, but I said, some of these people get on Facebook, and they play this poo-poo drama game. She wrote me in Facebook and said, "Wow, I see you were talking about me." I said, "Yes, I was." And I said, I didn't mention your name, but I said, "Why are you doing this? You know there's not a darn thing wrong with your looks. You posted sexy pose after sexy pose, and there's nothing wrong with your looks. Look at all the comments. Look at all the thumbs up. Look at what I've told you. Why are you doing this? Is this an attention-getting ploy?" And really, there are people, like the friends that I listed, or not listed, but had made reference to a little bit ago, that want to be in touch with me. They use Facebook as kind of a news feed. Here's what I'm doing. I'm not feeling well. This is what happened. Blah, blah, blah. Pacific used Facebook to be controversial, to post my videos after I pulled out of YouTube. And after that happened, I said, I'm going back to YouTube. And I will stay there. And the thing that bothers me is Facebook is shredding people's accounts, not just because they're conservative, but this guy is openly gay and said, "Oh, they probably shut it down for," and I didn't bother to tell him, no, Facebook is extremely conducive to the LGBT community. Posting something that favors the gay agenda is not going to get you struck down on Facebook. But I find it interesting that Facebook will not let you use a nickname. You're posting your own pictures. You're posting yourself, and many people don't want to put their real name for the simple reason they don't want other people from the past to locate them. I had different names, Pacific Oceana, Ramon Sawaya, and others. Facebook shut down every one of those accounts, made me submit ID, and then they promptly opened the account with my real name. I thought, isn't that nice? They just blew away my wanting to be clandestine. As evidenced by some of the going-ons on my last channel, people can now dox where you live and dox what your job is and dox your phone number and address and et cetera, et cetera. So we shouldn't be surprised. You think you're bulletproof? You think you're immune and got an anonymity? The minute you get on any social media, you are out there blown all over the place. That's a fact. That's a fact. So if you really don't want people to know you, don't, for the love of God, get on Facebook. Well, Pacific, don't you think you're jealous that Zuckerberg made a lot of money? I mean, he did come up with a viable product that millions of people and businesses and churches and organizations are using. Absolutely. But this is the problem of our age. People can sit on a chair at a computer and come up with something and make billions of dollars. I look at people who do housekeeping at hotels and motels. One of my friends on Facebook, one of my friends who was a former follower of my old Pacific Ocean Asian is back again with this one. She does housekeeping at a hotel in an East Coast state. The stories that she tells me of the piggy people that come in there. What was interesting is a lot of the people that come into those rooms were Liberty University students. Liberty University is a renowned Christian university that was headed up by Dr. Jerry Falwell. It was a school I had considered going to many, many years ago. But because of my divorces and other things, I thought ministry is not where I'm headed. The thing that bothers me is the story she tells of how people leave the rooms. When I would leave, I would pull the blankets over the bed. I'd throw my trash away, and I wouldn't leave a mess. Normal usage. She told stories of people leaving moldy food, people that lived there for 2 weeks at a time. This was not some sleazy motel. This is a prestigious, motel with conventions and contractors and people coming to do stuff in that city. She said the Liberty students were rude, stuck up, conceited, left the place a mess, complained about everything. And I suggested to her, why don't you write the dean of the school? And just say, maybe you don't do anything about this, but you might want to issue a statement to your student body every so often about how you're coming across in the public sector. She told me, I think that's a fabulous idea. I haven't met this woman at all. I've grown to like her as a human being and her friend who lives in Pennsylvania. And then I have a friend in Vermont, a couple that I'm friends with in New Hampshire, one in Michigan, one in California, one in Missouri, one in Tennessee. And I found the demographics of people who watch my channel was very telling. With the exception of one from the West Coast, California, most of my supporters were east of the Mississippi River. I found that very interesting. Pacific grew up out west. I grew up in Los Angeles. I lived in Torrance. I lived in Mammoth Lakes, and then we moved to Prescott, Arizona. I have lived in Washington. I have lived in Colorado. And as much as I like the raw, rugged beauty of the West with their steep mountains, canyon lands, roaring rivers, and beautiful lakes and forests, and oddities like the Petrified Forest and the Grand Canyon and Bryce Canyon and Zion National Park, I found something rings true out here. That the West is way more superficial. The West is more of a philosophy of leave me alone, mind your own business. And it's a very fiercely independent way of life. People don't spend a lot of time on anything deep out here. They'll spend a huge amount of time on the superficial and the flaky. And this could be talked about all across America. But I noticed that literally from one side of the Mississippi to the other, there is a huge differential in the dynamic of the way people are. Oh, so you're saying because people don't listen to your channel on the West Coast, you're putting them down. Not necessarily, but maybe a little bit. A lot of people I meet from the Western Seaboard don't seem to really get into deeper stuff. I also found a huge number of Asians and people from the Orient love my channel, love my stuff. Some needed a little explanation as to what I was talking about because they're unfamiliar with the American dynamic, especially feminism, and all that entails. I had girls tell me, I cannot believe as handsome as you are and nice and thoughtful as you are that you don't have a girlfriend. And I said, let me sit down and tell you a story about our culture. When women become a stock market commodity, as they have in the United States, every guy is on the losing end of a bad deal. You're behind the 8 ball. And we've talked about that ad nauseum. Facebook is a sign of the times. Facebook is bringing everybody together. It's tracking you. It's tracking your interest. You're getting stuff in Facebook, people you may know. They're advertising products, and they are doing it. Google does it all the time. Google tracks your searches on the internet and tries to send you advertising accordingly. That should be illegal. Pimping my namesake while they make big money to sell those lists, and people have been doing this all the time. You sign up for phone service with AT&T. AT&T could sell your information to other companies that could target you with a blitzkrieg of spam mail and everything else. It's like, excuse me, I should be profiting off my name, not AT&T or anybody else. But that is just one tip of the iceberg of the corruption that goes on a personal level. Let me make it clear to every one of you. If you are on social media, you have just put a target on your back. They know if you're conservative. They know if you're LGBT. They know if you're feminist. They know exactly what and who you are. And there's conspiracy theorists that say, well, there's people trying to find out all the conservatives so they can round them up and put them into these big warehouses that FEMA built. I did do some research on that. There are no big compounds that FEMA built. They don't exist. There's no helicopter view. There's no pictures. There's no nothing. If these things existed, people would be able to go and get photos of them, even from a chain link barbed wire security fence. You must be careful what you hear on the internet. Not everything is true. The way that the war is being won in America right now is not threat of rounding us up. The way the war is being won is allowing everybody to have their freedom of expression and thought. But in the case of Facebook, if for some reason you ticked off the powers that be, your account gets shut down and you never get a reason. So you don't know what it is. I.e., gay man in a steam bath. I.e., Pacific, who's dyed-in-the-wool conservative. But the guy in the steam bath said some interesting thing. He said, it took me a month to get over the withdrawal, but he said, I'm better off for it. And I told him what happened to me. I said, I found that people from my Facebook contacted my friends because they wanted to be in touch with me. And I looked at the guys. I said, isn't that what it's supposed to be about? Not just some cyber bits, but where you actually can reach across and care for each other. And he goes, and the one black man said, that's exactly what it's supposed to be about. Pacific will not even attempt to get on Facebook. We're done. Over. Finished. Trust me. I'm very vocal, very, very busy on social media, and I know that if the government, they already know everything they need to know about Pacific. I'm convinced of that. At the end of the day, who cares? But it does make for some interesting stuff, with accusations that Russia hacked the election, with accusations that the IRS was targeting conservatives. Yes, they were actually doing that. With Facebook gathering all this information on everybody and Zuckerberg being a dyed-in-the-wool Hillary Clinton supporter, that ought to cause every one of us alarm and concern. Why would you get on a site by a man who's a billionaire, who married an Asian woman? Nothing wrong with that. He's living his best life now. And yet he supports Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton, if she had her way, would shut down freedom of speech, freedom of thought, and that's a fact, people. Hillary Clinton is not a friend of the United States Constitution. Not at all. If we had had her as the winner of the last presidential election this last year, Americans would be groaning. Except, of course, the ones that believe fake news, which seems to be a huge number of them. Even though CNN is not good marketing at all, they're losing views, they're losing endorsements, and they're still peddling fake news. That Americans can be fed through social media and the television is very sick commentary on the state of our union today. If you want to find truth, you have to dig and sift. It's like mining for gold. You'll be shoveling a lot of dirt and a lot of rock and a lot of stuff that has absolutely no value, and you have to set all that aside in the hopes of attaining that one nugget. So it is with the truth. To be fed shovelfuls and front-end loaderfuls of dirt through CNN, which people that are undiscerning buy into all that and actually believe they're getting the truth, they're dumber than a stump. This is Pacific, and this is what I have to say.